So good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us on our second monthly webinar on the From Old to Bold webinar series. Today's webinar topic is strategic fraud prevention. I'm very excited to have an outstanding guest with us today to talk about fraud prevention, and I'm very pleased that everybody could join us this evening. Our guest tonight is Carol Gilmore, and she's an OPP civilian member of the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre, it's a joint group entity that's managed by the RCMP, the Competition Bureau, and the OPP. So there's some serious strength behind this organization. It's a very serious organization designed to help identify and prevent fraud. Our guest speaker, Carol, she's been working with the CAFC Senior Support Unit as the coordinator for 23 years now, and she reaches out and finds volunteers so that there's an outreach to the community to educate them and to help them to anticipate and prevent the frauds that are out there from a day-to-day basis. And Carol mentioned that the words of her co-founder always resonate with her, which is, you can't catch all the bad guys. So our goal has to be to have the best educated consumers of any country in the world. So I think this is all part of it. She was, very eager to help, because this is what they do, is to reach out and to get to talk to as many seniors, as many individuals as possible. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Carol and pass the presentation over to her. And Carol, over to you.
Thank you, Lauren, and thank you for inviting the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre to have a fraud talk with your members. My goal today is to empower them to recognize, reject, and report fraud to the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre. Going forward, please feel free to use the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre as your trusted source to ask about and report mass marketing fraud to. Scams and cybercrimes can happen to anyone, anywhere, at any time. Victims that report to the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre have told us that they are retired judges, lawyers, law enforcement, doctors, teachers, and homemakers. Everyone is a target. The minute that you think that it won't happen to you and let your guard down, it just might. And the impact of falling victim to fraud can be devastating. You may notice that I will repeat myself, and that some of my slides may seem to duplicate warnings and suggestions that will lessen the chance of you becoming a victim of cybercrime and/or identity theft. And this is intentional. I hope that you too will repeat my warnings and suggestions to your family and friends in the hopes of reducing the chance of them becoming a victim. Let's make talking about fraud a regular topic of conversation with those that we care about. As fraud rates continue to increase in Canada, the world is going through a global pandemic with waves and variants. This has created an environment that is ripe for fraud and online criminal activity. The COVID-19 has resulted in never-before-seen numbers of people turning to the internet for their groceries, everyday shopping, banking, and companionship. Coupled with the profound social, psychological, and emotional impacts, the pool of potential victims have increased dramatically. My fraud talk today will cover the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre, who we are, top frauds targeting seniors based on 2021 reports, the basics of fraud prevention, some examples of fraud initiated by telephone, text, and online, and the importance of reporting fraud. The Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre, as Lauren mentioned, is a joint forces operation led by the RCMP in part of the RCMP. Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre is located in North Bay, Ontario. As Canada's National Fraud Reporting Centre, the CAFC takes a victim-centered approach to support Canadian consumers and businesses affected by fraud. We are the only agency in Canada central sourcing mass marketing fraud intel. In addition to taking reports from victims of fraud, The information collected at the CFC plays a vital role in developing awareness campaigns and in supporting law enforcement efforts to investigate and disrupt the criminals behind the scams. As well, the CAFC strengthens partnerships between the private and public sectors with the aim of maintaining Canada's strong economic integrity. Canadians, like you or I, can report frauds that have targeted them whether or not they have lost money. So if it was just an attempt, you saw something, you recognized it as fraud, we're interested in your information. You can also report anonymously and or on behalf of someone else. Mass marketing fraud is a global issue with serious financial consequences. Whenever a criminal sets out to mislead, lie to, deceive, and or not give the consumer what they promised, it is fraud. Mass marketing fraud deals with frauds that target the masses. Usually, the suspects are linked to organized crime groups with a well-orchestrated web of deceit that sets out to steal money and or personal information from hundreds of thousands of victims. They usually don't get too greedy, which allows them to stay under the radar. They work across borders to elude law enforcement. But it's not unusual for victims to report losses of $500,000 or more, especially with the crypto investment and romance frauds we're seeing recently. For a lot of our victims, a financial loss is one thing, but being duped and victimized plays a greater negative role in their mental health and well-being. It is not unheard of, and nor should it be unspoken of, for victims of mass marketing fraud to take their own lives. If you or someone you know has been a victim, please encourage them to report it and get help. They are not alone. If you've been a victim of fraud, please contact your local police. Let them know that you're a senior victim of fraud and wish to file a report. Have all your supporting documents in order. Remember, it is the role of your local police to investigate. The Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre assists them through maintaining a central database of information to assist in investigations. While we know that the COVID-19 pandemic exposed new vulnerabilities and increased the potential of fraud victimization, we did not expect to see fraud losses more than double from 2020 to 2021. Losses reported to the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre reached an all-time high of $379 million in 2021. And this keeping in mind that less than 5% of victims report fraud due to a variety of reasons, which we will discuss later. This slide shows the top frauds targeting seniors based on dollar loss. I will explain the top three.
I was just going to interject regarding the romance fraud. There's a Netflix documentary called The Tinder Swindler, and it goes deep into how women have been swindled out of many hundreds of thousands of dollars based on relationships with the same person. So it's a great little video. It's a documentary, and it's well recognized as a great documentation to this type of fraud that goes on. And it's just coincidentally, I saw it last week, and it's one of the top 10 on Netflix. So Tinder Swindler. So look into romance fraud and see it actually happen. It's quite interesting.
Yes.
Sorry.
So the first one there, the investment scam, is any solicitation for investments into false or deceptive investment opportunities. These opportunities falsely promise higher than normal returns. However, investors lose most or all of their money. The majority of investment scams report involve Canadians investing in cryptocurrency these days. After seeing a deceptive advertisement, it typically involves victims downloading a trading platform and transferring cryptocurrency into their trading account. In most cases, victims are not able to withdraw their funds. It is very likely that many of the trading platforms are fraudulent and or controlled by fraudsters. The following are some variations of how victims find themselves involved in crypto investment scams. It could be that the victim is approached on a dating or social media website. In some cases, the scam starts as a romance scam and quickly turns into an investment opportunity because suspects have gained the victim's trust. It can lead to a high dollar loss for the victim. In some reports, suspects have compromised the victim's social media accounts because the victim believes that they're communicating with a friend or a trusted person, and they're thus easily convinced to take advantage of this investment opportunity. Or the suspect calls a victim directly and convinces them to invest in cryptocurrency. In many cases, the suspect asks for remote access to the victim's computer. The suspect shows the victim a fraudulent crypto investment website and convinces the victim to invest based on potential exponentially growth in the investment. In many cases, the victim will invest over a long period of time and in the end will realize the funds cannot be withdrawn. Or an email can be received out of the blue offering a victim cryptocurrency investment opportunity. And or they may see an advertisement on social media. And after the victim clicks on the ad and provides their contact information, suspects contact the victim by telephone and convince them to invest. The Ontario Securities Commission has a website that all consumers should become very familiar with, www.osc.ca. This website is kept up to date and it posts investor and warning alerts. The number 2 fraud type on our chart is romance. And fraudsters will use every type of dating or social networking site available to contact their victims. Their accounts are created using photos stolen from legitimate people. Their background stories often mimic the victims, and they are often in the military, work overseas, or they are successful business people. They quickly profess their love to gain their victims' trust and affection and money. This type of fraud relies heavily on victims' emotions and may last for months, years, or until the victim has nothing left to give. The fraudster will always run into trouble and are unable to refund their victims. However, they will continue to make empty promises and ask for more and more money. So be very careful and know the warning signs and how to protect yourself, and be very aware of individuals that quickly profess their love, individuals who claim to be wealthy but need to borrow your money. When trying to set up an in-person meeting, be suspicious if they always provide you with reasons to cancel. Never send intimate photos or videos of yourself, as they may be used to blackmail you. And never send or accept money under any circumstances. You may unknowingly be participating as a money mule in money laundering, which is a criminal offense. The third fraud type on our chart is the service scam, and there's a variety of service scams reported to the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre. Some of the more common service scams that are initiated online include help with government documents. For a fee, a website offers services to you to get passports, to get a birth certificate, to book a driver's test, a pardon or a criminal waiver, immigration services. The websites look very, very official, and they may promise faster processing times and other guarantees. But the reality is the forms needed to get government identification are free, and no one can speed up the process. The service might be that you're looking to sell automobile, your timeshare, a rental property. Typically, you'll be targeted after posting something for sale online. The scammer claims to have a buyer and offers to help you sell your item for a fee. If you pay, you learn that there is no buyer and that your money is gone. And of course, the most popular service, one for the last decade, has been the tech support scam, where a scammer claims a virus has infected your computer. And this might happen through an alarming website pop-up that demands that you call a number urgently, or an unsolicited telephone call claiming to be Microsoft or another well-known computer company. The scammer states that your computer is sending out viruses and or has been hacked and it must be serviced. They request access to your computer and they may run programs and or alter your settings.
So Carol, I was going to say,
Download viruses, malware.
sorry, Carol.
Yes.
I was just going to say when they're
Mm-hmm.
charging these small amounts for what appears to be real services, they're basically getting your credit card information along with all your ID. So that usually isn't the end of it. They'll charge you for the service, and then they go and they'll sell the credit card to the highest bidder. So there's
That's right. There's a lot going on the dark web
yeah,
that people aren't familiar with. And, sometimes the amount of money that they ask for is very small. And you're right, they're looking for your personal information so that they can pretend to be you. And therefore you'd find yourself a victim of identity theft as well.
excellent.
So our website has a resource where we list all scams known to us alphabetically from A to Z. We list the red flags, what you should watch out for, and how to report it. So for the other fraud types and for the time allotted today, I'll leave it up to everyone to go to our website and take a look at all these different fraud types, the warning signs, and what to watch out for.
We'll have a link to that site on our website with a recording of tonight's presentation as well.
Okay, excellent. Well, we all need to be vigilant. Fraudsters want to profit from consumers' fears, uncertainties, and misinformation. The Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre slogan for fraud prevention is geared toward getting citizens of Canada to slow down and not to react to potential fraud solicitations. We encourage people to recognize that fraudsters are using every means at their disposal to target them: telephone, email, text messaging, social media, internet, and regular mail. We ask that they change how they react to unsolicited offers or demands. Rejecting fraud involves protecting your personal information and money. Routine practices to develop include checking your credit profiles, monitoring accounts for unauthorized activities, updating your operating systems and antivirus software, and not doing unsolicited business over the phone or with somebody that you do not know. We want people to slow down, to think about and assess the situation before reacting. This can involve saying no, doing due diligence, researching and confirming information, talking to family members, friends, and trusted advisors. We want to encourage people to take their time and to scrutinize offers and demands. Reporting fraud means speaking up, even if no money was lost. Like other crimes, if fraud is not reported, we don't know what's happening and can't warn other people. The information from one fraud occurrence, a bank account, an email address, a virtual currency address, a telephone number, can be investigated, and it's useful in linking other occurrences to show a judge a pattern of deceit if and when they get the fraudster in a court of law. Moreover, reporting provides other opportunities for disruption. By reporting the information to the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre, the banks, the money service businesses, the email providers, the telephone companies, the dating websites, the social media networks, steps can be taken to block and or remove these fraudulent accounts and their content, reducing the chances of other consumers being targeted. All fraudsters have their tool of the trade: phone, computers, websites, boiler rooms. In order for a fraud to be successful, they require a way to communicate with their potential victim, as well as a system to receive payments from victims. To better prevent fraud in the beginning, it's important to be aware of the top contact methods. And this chart shows that the number one method that the fraudster used to target victims was a direct call, followed by email and or on the internet, including social networking websites. So we'll start with the first one, which is fraud initiated by a telephone call. The telephone has evolved into today's mobile device that can fit into your pocket, and it can allow you to call and in most cases connect online with anyone around the globe. It is the number one reported tool reported to the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre, where the fraudsters are using to victimize unsuspecting and good and trusting seniors. The advancement of technology allows fraudsters access to automated dialing, robocalls, spoofing, and delayed disconnect on landlines. The first one, automated dialing, is a device or a software that automatically dials telephone numbers. The phone numbers are usually provided from large lists. We call them lead lists. Once a call is answered, the auto dialer either plays a recorded message or connects the caller to a live person. This system can be used by legitimate and or fraudulent call centers. Fraudsters may use lists of phone numbers gained legally or illegally, or they may set up the dialer to call all possible configurations of phone numbers in a given region. Robocalls are phone calls that use an auto dialer to deliver a pre-recorded message. The recording message may use a computerized robotic voice or that of a real person. Robocalls are subject to the CRTC regulations, and if you're registered on Canada's Do Not Call list, this should filter out a large number of unsolicited and unwanted calls. The National Do Not Call list gives consumers a choice about whether to receive telemarketing calls or not. There are some exemptions, and we encourage you to go to their website and read more about their service. Spoofing is your caller ID or your call display normally indicates the number and the name associated to the line used to call you. Fraudsters can easily manipulate the information displayed. The most common misrepresentations to trick Canadians into answering calls are using the same area code to make it appear that it is a local call, mirroring your own number, displaying the recognized number of a specific organization, for an example, law enforcement or a government agency, or showing a number that cannot be dialed. Delayed disconnect only occurs on landlines. When trying to legitimize their call, a fraudster will sometimes ask you to end your current call and immediately call the number on the back of your card, credit card, or your bank card, or another number they provide to you. When you complete the second call, you are almost instantly connected to the same person you were just speaking with. That is because the original call was never completely disconnected. Multiple reports of delayed disconnect frauds have been reported to the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre involving a bank inspector scam. So just some, takeaways from this. If you answer the phone and it's a recorded message, hang up. Do not press 1 or call back. Whenever you're asked to make a secondary call, wait a few minutes after ending the original call or call back from a different phone.
I was just going
Never
to
provide your personal or
So I was just going to interject about the calling back. We're taught that if it's if it's a credit card or somebody says just tell them you'll call them back and call the number at the back of the credit card, and that's supposed to be your degree of safety. And so it created this delayed disconnect or non-disconnect, and that was very scary when I first heard of that scam. And now we have it in front of our eyes, but be aware. Someone says, "Don't trust us. Just call back right now," and then give them your credit card, and you'll get all the information that I'm trying to give you now. It's really misleading, and again, can confuse anybody.
That's correct. Yeah. You should never feel pressured to provide personal or financial information. At this stage in our life, the people that should have that information already have it. So there's no need for you ever to give it. Ask questions. If the caller cannot or will not answer them, just hang up. If you're still unsure about the call, talk to somebody that you trust, such as your trusted technology partner, or call the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre. Consumers have become increasingly available to fraudsters by accepting emails and text messages on their mobile device, which they carry with them at all times. While telephone calls may still be the #1 contact method fraudsters use, consumers are victimized more often from frauds initiated by emails and text messaging. Like with the phone, fraudsters are also able to alter the sender's information in emails and text messages. They use spoofing tactics to display the name, phone number, or email they want you to see. In emails, you should be able to hover over the sender's name, hit reply, and/or look at the email property to reveal the sender's real email address. If there's any inconsistencies, take the time to report it. There's also automation, where automated or scheduled emails and text messages that were designed to help businesses save time by quickly and simultaneously engaging with their contact list. But fraudsters are using these same applications and services to instantly message their lists. They can choose who the message goes to, decide when to send them, and even personalize them depending on the information they have previously collected. Fraudsters may also set up autoresponders to send delayed messages for when consumers reply back. And I'm sure if you haven't already, one day you will find that perhaps your email has been compromised. When fraudsters gain access to email accounts, they can impersonate the victim to attempt fraud. With consumer accounts, fraudsters may send an email to the victim's entire contact list asking for money urgently due to an emergency. With business accounts, fraudsters may set up an email ordering rule, receive a copy of all incoming emails to their own email account. They will comb through the information and impersonate the business when the timing is right. The fraudsters may send a repeat invoice to clients asking them to submit their payment to an updated bank account. They may also impersonate an executive and request payments be made from staff members for various reasons. The success of these frauds depends on the fraudster's ability to spoof the victim. So how to protect
Now we've
yourself
seen,
from...
I was just going to say, within our branch, we've seen this type of email compromise where the advisor will get an email from the client who is in fact in Florida, say, "Hi, I'm in Florida, please send wire money to this location." Now, we don't wire any money without verbal confirmation, but a fraudster got a hold of this individual's email and impersonated them and knew that they were in Florida by reading their emails and said, "Hey, I'm in Florida, please send money here." And we encounter those type of things on a regular basis. So it's very, very real, and everybody should be very aware of it.
Yeah, so, just be aware of unsolicited emails and text messages and just delete them. Do not open messages that claim to be from businesses or organizations for which you do not have an existing relationship. Most business and organizations have personalized domains. Meanwhile, fraudsters do most of their business using free domains such as Hotmail, Gmail, Yahoo. So if I got an email from richardsonswealth@gmail.com, that would be a huge red flag. So keep that in mind and take the time to analyze the sender's email address, as I mentioned, by hovering over the sender's name or visible email address, and or, as Lauren said, call the person and find out if what they're asking for is a real scenario or not. The internet is a network of electronic devices that span the globe. It is easy to connect, and once online, you can access almost any information or communicate with anyone else that is connected. It is the perfect workplace for fraudsters. Oftentimes we find fraud on search engine optimization. When looking for information, many consumers will use popular search engines to find answers quickly. Fraudsters will often pay for their information on our website to be listed among the top results. If your search says keep scrolling down until you find the main secure website with a padlock and or an HTTPS in the address bar. And the pop-ups. They're used to grab your attention and are known to have a reputation as annoying distractions. But a few variations exist. Pop-ups will appear on top of your current page and they will redirect you to a new window or tab, and pop-unders will open a new window or tab but not redirect you from your current window. There are three ways you can trigger a pop-up. It could be a time-driven pop-up that are set to appear after you have clicked something and set the timer in the background. Behavior-driven pop-ups will appear after specific conditions have been met. And exit pop-ups will appear when you close the browser or visit a website different from the current one. So all the while, while we're searching, the internet is watching, and they're going to give us pop-ups, hoping that we'll click on something to get further information or learn more about it. And just by clicking on a pop-up, you might think, well, what's the harm in that? I'm not going to give them my personal information or get further involved. But unknowingly, the hacker or the fraudster could have put some viruses on that pop-up. So as soon as you've clicked on it, you've unknowingly downloaded malware onto your computer. So it's really, really important to stay away from those. And if you can't and it won't go away, just close down your computer and do a hard reboot. As well, many fraudsters will camouflage themselves among these popular bargain hunting grounds on online classifieds. We all like to, get a deal, that's for sure. But fraudsters will create advertisements for items such as animals, puppies, kittens, rental units, vehicles, and list them at a deep discount. Fraudsters may also contact consumers saying that they're interested in purchasing their item that they have listed and offer an overpayment. In some cases, they may take over a victim's account, or they may offer false employment for others to post advertisements for them. So just be aware that that's happening, as well as fake websites. Creating a website can be quick and easy, yet they may not be up for long if they're flagged to be fraudulent. Fraudsters create websites for a number of frauds. They are all built to offer a sense of trust, legitimacy behind the information they've provided. And fraudsters may also purchase HTTPS precursors to indicate that their website is secure when transferring information. They may also purchase domain names that are very, very close and sound alike to legitimate brands, especially when they're claiming to be affiliated to a business or when they're looking to sell counterfeit merchandise. As well, fake information that fraudsters will create accounts and websites using stolen logos, information and photos of people and or merchandise. So just be very, very careful. A lot of times use your gut instinct, slow down, and take the time to check things out. When buying online, the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre always suggests using a major credit card. The reason for that being is that Canadian credit cards offer 100% liability if fraud happens on your credit card. They offer the best fraud protection. You just have to let them know that you didn't get what you had been ordered. It wasn't as promised. They will credit your account and they will go after the merchant. So just keep all of that in mind, and I'll move on to phishing. And while this cartoon is humorous, phishing can download malware onto your device and lead to identity theft. And this is anything but a funny situation for the victims. Phishing is a numbers game to fraudsters. How many consumers will take the bait and click?
And I was just going to say, phishing is a big corporate issue, because if you can get one single victim in a large corporation to get their ID and password, or their account number and password, it enables the fraudster to get into a whole corporation and gather more information or send out emails to their coworkers under the correct email address and then take that information themselves. So they really hijack that particular email. So this cartoon really resonated with me because it happens everywhere. And if you scam enough people, there's always going to be one person who thinks it's legitimate and or is preoccupied with something. And so just be on the on guard because it's out there on a daily basis. Go ahead.
That's correct. Phishing emails use techniques designed to trick the victim into thinking they are dealing with a reputable company. For an example, a financial institution, a service provider, or a government delivery company. For example, they steal good company logos. Phishing messages will direct you to click a link for various reasons, such as maybe updating your account information or unlocking your account or accepting a refund. The goal is to capture your personal and or financial information, which can be used for identity fraud. In this email, it looks like there is a delivery from UPS. Coincidence that you may have just ordered something and you're expecting a delivery. Would you A, click on the link, or B, would you go to your online store, sign in securely to see if your order has been shipped, and see what shipping and courier company it will be delivered by, and then go to that shipping company's website and see if they have a delivery for you? If you chose B, the latter, you would be correct. Many agencies and businesses know that their good name is being used by scammers. And for an example, I went right to the UPS website and they had this phishing example there for people and their customers to access this and many others. So again, hover on the from the sender's email address, and if it said UPS at gmail.com, you could be safely assured that it is fraud. Look for spelling and grammatical errors. Verify, even hover on the hyperlink behind the link's text or button. Verify the sender's email addresses. Know that agencies and businesses do not use free email providers, as I mentioned. Do not click on any suspicious links as they can contain malware. And if you're in doubt, call the company, go to their website, or talk to your trusted technology partner. It is estimated that less than 5% of all fraud is reported to the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre. This is based on information obtained through investigations, lead lists, bank seizures, and studies. McMaster University did a ID theft study and estimated the figure is close to 1%. Victims of fraud may suffer financial and emotional abuse and even medical problems relating to their victimization. They are not alone, as millions of people are victims of fraud every year. Victims often don't report because they feel ashamed or embarrassed. They have the perception that no one will believe them or that law enforcement won't investigate. They have a fear that family will take control of their finances and they will lose their independence. In some cases, they don't even know that they've been a victim of fraud. Oftentimes, an imposter will keep the scam going for years before it's identified. In some cases, they blame themselves for the losses. I had one victim recently who was afraid to go to the police as the fraudsters had them believing that they were just as guilty and had been laundering money as a money mule, which is a criminal offense. So how to report fraud? Number one, gather all your information pertaining to the fraud. Try to put it in chronological order and include all of the financial transactions, the suspect's contact information. No detail is too small. Number two, write down that chronological statement of events. This can be very overwhelming for a lot, especially when you've just been victimized. So ask your trusted technology person to help you. Number 3, report the incident to your local law enforcement. Let them know you're a senior victim of fraud and wish to file a report. Time is of the essence if you want them to do their due diligence and go after the suspects. Step number 4, report the incident to the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre. 5, report it to the financial institution or payment provider used to send the money. And if the fraud took place online, report it directly to the appropriate website. We have a toll-free line. It's open Monday to Friday, 8 to 4:30, and an online reporting system. Currently, we're working in partnership with the National Cybercrime Coordination Unit, NC3. And you might say, well, you know, if I've already reported to the police, why would I bother reporting it to the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre? Well, information could link a number of crimes together in Canada and abroad. Information could be used in the progress or complete an investigation. Reports show crime trends and reports for crime forecasting. It also helps law enforcement, private and public sector to learn more about crimes and help with prevention and awareness. It allows the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre to perform disruption initiatives which may save other seniors from being victimized further. For an example of our disruption initiatives, the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre in 2020 was successful in shutting down 1,845 phone numbers, 18,589 email addresses, 173 fraudulent websites. So it's important work that we do, but we couldn't do that work without Canadians and consumers like yourself calling in to give us the information that we needed, you know, to shut down these fraudsters' accounts. Every year, March is Fraud Prevention Month in Canada. This year, 2022, the theme of the month is Impersonation Scams. The theme was selected because it encompasses a number of highly reported scams from 2021, including investment, extortion, phishing, and service scams. Last year, the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre recorded the highest financial losses to fraud in its history of operation. We need everyone's help in spreading prevention information. Throughout March, we will be posting on social media and web content. It would be great if you could help share and interact with this content to spread the message far and wide. Thank you for your time today, and I'm open for questions.
And if you just want to put up your hand or send a question through the chat feature, I'll be able to see that and pass it on. And I just wanted to say that Carol's here as a little bit of an evangelist for, first of all, protect yourself at all costs. And that's what we're here to do, is to learn about, to see the signs and to protect yourself, but also the 3 R's of fraud prevention, which is to recognize, refuse, and report. So, you know, Carol hopes that not only do you learn to protect yourself, but the more people that report the actual frauds that they experience, the more people can be saved down the road. So I just want to point out, I don't see any questions in the chat at this moment, but I want to let everybody know, or thank everybody for attending, and let everybody know that there will be a copy or a video of this presentation available online if you wanted to forward it to your friends or family. And thank you very much, Carol, for educating us and putting the warning signals out for everybody, you know, living in today's technology world. I think it was an awesome presentation, and I think we all learned a lot today. So thank you very much, and stay tuned, Carol. If you just want to wave goodbye, I just wanted to thank you, and also have everybody stay tuned for our 3rd installment of the From Old to Bold. Will be happening next month. So I'll be sending out invitations for that in the next few weeks. But thank you very much, and good night, and most importantly, be safe. Take care, everybody.